Okay, I will call the regular meeting of the Everman City Council to order. It is Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. The time is 6:30. Everybody, please rise for a moment of silence followed by pledge of allegiance. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You got a remote.
Oh, it's over here.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. Don't have any consent agendas. So first item is presentations. Item A, oath of office to Corporal Ashley Bollinger.
Come on up. Come on there. Are you having somebody pin you? No? You want to take that one off? Unless you want to wear two. Do you want to wear two? All right. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing us again to always do this in front of you and share this with you. I'm excited to have Ashley Bollinger here with us this evening. She was one of 4 who submitted letters of intent for the position of corporal. And after going through the process, she ultimately came out on top. She's got several years of experience before starting with us. You may recall we were here, just 4 months ago, swearing her in as the newest member of our department. But she comes to us with several years of experience, including supervisory experience previously at our other departments. So we're excited to get some fresh meat at the table when we start talking about how we're as we start talking about how to move this department forward. But I'm looking forward to her fresh ideas and her participation in that. She's also agreed with several other officers to be a part of the Texas Best Practices Guidance Board, where we're going to start pursuing recognition through Texas Best Practices. So I'm excited to have her input on that as well. Good. So Ashley, if you don't mind, would you raise your right hand and repeat after me? I state your name.
I, Ashley Bollinger,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of the City of Everman,
of the City of Everman,
Police Corporal
Police Corporal
of the State of Texas,
of the State of Texas,
and will to the best
and will to the best
of my ability
of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right. If you would please just sign right there. I need your signature on 2 copies. All right. And hopefully I don't stick you.
I have a vest on, so that'd be pretty interesting.
You never know, ma'am.
Or is this outside?
And there are your stripes. Other hand, other hand. There you go. Congratulations. Any regrets? Okay. Thank you so much, Campbell.
Okay, next item B, Tarrant County Regional Communications, TCRC Center Presentation and Update, Director Beverly Patton.
You can stay there. You can move that mic to you if you'd like.
Good evening, Council. So I'm here to present an update of the dispatch center. We've been in a multi-facility agency since December of last year. So officially in operation for 2 months, and I can say that everything so far is on the up. We have better staffing. We're almost fully staffed on the fire side. We are 100% staffed on PD dispatchers, and call load has increased tremendously since we have been just a lone dispatcher. You know, in the past, we worked as a single dispatcher doing, police, fire, and EMS services. Now we have split those responsibilities between designated fire dispatchers and police dispatchers. So everything and everyone has been more positive in the sense of going to work every day. So I have provided an operations total report of the call load and how much is coming in and going out. So totally For all 911 calls, we have 1,803, which is at least, what is it, 11 times more than what we usually get, which is the city of Everman as it was last year and the year prior per month. So it's at, it's in flux quite a bit. But like I said, everything's been split up and has been shared with the responsibilities, and everyone's handling it very well. So in comparison with how many calls are actually coming in on an annual basis, last year the city of Everman alone was 15,000 calls. As of right now, since January 1st to today, we're about 4,300, I believe. So with that is a projected 48,000 calls later this year if it stays where it's at. So I'm excited where we're going. I'm excited where we're about to be, and we're not stopping there. So I just want to provide that. And if there's any questions, then that's what I'm here for. But
The other night when the storm came through, they were calm, they were good.
I was very impressed. Everyone stayed over. We had a total of 8 dispatchers. The day shift decided to stay over late to assist with those calls. We actually hit, I believe, was 200, almost 300 calls within a 4-hour time frame.
Wow.
During that incident. So it was amazing how they handled it. And we didn't lose power. We had 0 hiccups within the dispatch center alone. So that so that tells us that, building the facility and having it done the way it is, we're going to be okay if anything bigger happens. So
Might have to look at dedicated call tank. If it continues like that.
One other thing to highlight on here is if you notice the average 911 ring time, it says 97% under 10 seconds. That's 97% of the calls were answered in less than 10 seconds. The NENA standard is 90%. So we have been exceeding the NENA standard out there by reaching 97% of the calls in less than 10 seconds.
Well, stories. That's good. It's
Any questions?
amazing, actually,
yes, ma'am.
have everybody in that one room.
But they're working well together. I mean, the first
Mhm.
month is a little difficult, different
Mhm.
personalities and all that, but they're learning to understand and trust each other, and just watching the growth between just the personnel alone, it amazes me.
Yeah.
So,
I can imagine.
So you are all fully staffed now?
at least on the police side. So we have 8 full-time dispatchers now there, 2 in training for part-time, and then we have at least three applicants interested in the fire dispatch side. So we're actually getting the word out, and people are interested to come and be a dispatcher. So, in the past, everyone's hurting. Everyone is struggling just to get applicants, and I could probably say that we have a list of people who want to be a dispatcher. So
Whoa, that's excellent.
hopefully that stays with it.
I still have to make it through the process.
Correct, absolutely. I'm hard about that part, so. You have to get through me.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, good job.
Okay, so next item, citizens' comments. Nothing. Discussion item A, discuss and review of current water rates.
All right, so this is going to be a pretty brief discussion, but as you recall, in 2021, we proposed a water rate increase. At that time, when we proposed a water rate increase, it was a pretty dramatic increase. And we had gone several years kind of doing little increases here and there. We needed to bring our water rates up to the current standard of what we needed to be able to maintain operations and continue our operations without having to pull funds from general fund and everywhere else to maintain our water system. At that time, because we knew it was going to be a dramatic increase to get us to where we needed to be and to be in the median average of the other like-sized cities for water service, we agreed that we weren't going to propose any water rates in 2022. So we did not. We have not provided any increase since that large increase. The purpose of this was to make that big jump so that we can review our water rates annually every year for going last year, every year after that. And if there do need to be any adjustments, we make those adjustments in small increments, not impacting the residents and the business owners with a large impact all at one time. So we are getting ready. I've already began doing the TML surveys. TML has done the water rate surveys and the sewer rate surveys. We are currently pulling that data now to prepare for a presentation to you. What I would like to do is the next council meeting, I would like to have all that data available to you for you to review. We can discuss it at that meeting, and then the first meeting in April, we'll bring forth a recommendation. So to prepare for this, so we don't have to go 3 or 4 meetings talking about water rates, what I wanted to find out from council tonight was, is there any other data you would like to see that you would like for us to pull before the next meeting outside of the TML surveys? Do you want me to pull data specifically from any Tarrant County cities? What data is it that you want to see to make the judgment call when we approach this April 1st meeting?
So TML is, they're gathering data on like-sized cities, is that what you said?
Yeah, TML
Okay.
goes, every year TML goes out and does an average service cost for water based on the population size of each city. We've pulled that data previously. That was part of the data set that we utilized to make the adjustments we made in 2020. So I plan to pull that same data.
Okay,
I just want to find out beforehand if there's any other data that you would like to see, so I can make sure I provide a full encompassing presentation to you so you can make an informed decision.
okay.
Is there any difference in well water or what is it
Surface
called?
water?
Surface water.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly some varying cost. Well water is traditionally more expensive as far as the pumps and the wells and things go. Surface water requires more treatment. So there's treatment facility costs that go into that are a little higher. Well water traditionally costs more than surface water. As far as the TML survey, it does not differentiate between surface water or well water when it provides those average costs. It's simply providing an average cost based on population city size is all it does.
There may sound like it may be an offset if it costs more for surface water.
Right.
So, okay,
Well, it costs more for well water.
yeah, but I
Right.
mean, but offset costs, you know, if they have to spend more for treatment of water and then
Correct.
the increase of the well water.
Correct.
So
So how are we looking right now?
The rates are good, and had it not have been for the several emergencies that we had with having to dip into the water reserve funds, we would have met the goal that we set out to meet in 2021. But we did have some water side emergencies that we had to take care of that dipped in and prevented us from reaching that goal. We are covering our operations now fully with the water sewer fund, which is the way it's designed to be. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to have any kind of collapse behind. I don't want to fall behind on that. So if at a minimum, even if council chooses not to change the rates, you may choose to keep the rates the same. We still need to evaluate it this year, see what the average costs are, and see if there's been any adjustments from the Trinity and Biloxi well services to identify any rate changes that we may have to make to the consumer.
What has happened that you had to dip into the make the changes?
Do you remember any of the specific incidents?
was one of that sewer line collapse.
We did have a sewer line collapse on Vaughn that stretched to Russell.
And that was a
So
big one.
there was a sewer line collapse there. We did have to replace a water line that fed Hannah Ranch.
Yes.
There was a collapse there. We've had a couple of other water main breaks that they've had to repair.
Not to mention electrical and and of course, you know, we know that some of that was covered through ARPA funds, but there were expenses incurred that had we not had the ARPA funds, we would have been paying out of reserves.
Yeah,
So,
I think we had
so
a
there
booster
have been
pump failure
additional,
too in the last
expenses.
2 years.
Are there any other, ARPA funds left that could be used toward this?
Any ARPA funds left towards?
Any ARPA funds, period, that could be used toward this?
There is an amount of unallocated ARPA funds, roughly 120, 150,000. We were placing that into reserve to finish out the rest of the projects and to kind of keep that as an emergency fund in case anything else comes up in the interim. But right now, we're not faced with any other water emergencies after council approved the $90,000 to revamp and overhaul the electrical at Columbine. So right now, it's just a matter of keeping our fingers crossed and hopefully no other water emergencies come up.
Yeah,
The
and-
fund's
and-
doing what it's supposed to be.
Yes, and
So,
building the
Yes.
reserves in the water fund, which is crucial for the
Yeah.
future of
Yeah.
the city.
You brought up the $90,000 for the electrical. I went back and reviewed the minutes and the record and the video where we did approve 80,000 back in November.
Yes.
So
we
was
did-
that different electrical or what?
No, the one in November was, we approved it. We never actually went through and expended it. So we had to come back and make that change and reapprove an allocation for it. We never moved forward with actually finishing out the project.
Okay, now my concern is not the water more important than the projects that you have listed? Or you're inquiring about?
Project, which
You were saying
projects?
that when I asked about the ARPA funds, you were saying that those are projects that we already have. Is not this more important than raising water rates?
Are you talking about the 150,000 that we have unallocated still?
Yes.
No, I think that could be equally as important. What I've said is that the 150,000 unallocated funds should be kept until the projects that have been allocated are complete, make sure that we don't go over budget there, make sure that all of our numbers come in at the final, and then keeping those funds simply as kind of a reserve in case something else was to come up, whether it be an emergency street repair or another water line break, and we may not have the funds inside of the water reserve fund to cover it. Any other emergency that may come up. That's what our intention is with the unallocated portion of ARPA.
Not just water,
Yeah, not just water.
citywide.
We don't have to spend, we have to spend the ARPA funds, but we don't have to spend it until 2025. So my recommendation has been, let's keep what's been unallocated as a set aside to handle any emergencies, to prevent us from having to dip into any of our reserve funds if we don't have to for the next couple of years, while we have worked to try to build ourselves out of the red that unfortunately the city has been in with the water fund and the general fund for the previous 4 years, 5 years, to build up our reserve funds to where they need to be.
Okay, now when was the last rate increase?
2021,
Okay, and the amount was what?
roughly, I believe it was $14 per resident on the average. Now, commercial customers experienced a larger increase on that because it was an increase of the base rate. So depending on what water line size the consumer had, made a difference on what that water rate increase was. I think we said the overall average was about $14 per consumer on the residential side.
Okay, so basically next meeting, you're gonna have all the information for us to look at.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll
Okay.
have, yeah, what the
Right.
rates are from 21 moving forward.
Right,
Yes,
okay.
all of that,
Like what Ray was asking, do we want any additional information?
yes.
Other
Anything
than what he's
specific.
gonna get?
Mm.
Right, yeah.
Does anybody want any, is there anything?
No.
Are you gonna give maybe a projection? You're gonna look at what we looked at now. And based on maybe what things have happened in the past, are you gonna give us a recommendation of maybe an ooch up on water rates?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am. Yeah,
okay,
so
that's all I'm after.
We'll do the same thing that we did last time. We'll provide you a full presentation of what our water reserve fund looks like, what our projections look like for revenue
Okay.
over the coming years. And there's other things to factor into this rate adjustment this year. We have 202 new homes that are being built,
Yes,
which means we're gonna have 202 new connections that are going to affect this as well. So we need to somewhat predict how that's going to impact this, whether it be in a positive or negative way. So we need to project for those and make a decision based on all that.
and you're gonna have the level of the plexi and all that
Yes,
to compare to.
Yes,
that'll be part of the presentation.
Because that's gonna, take more water resources, so. Okay.
and I wanted to make sure, so the average increase last time was a $14.46 monthly increase for the average residential customer, which was a big jump.
Yeah.
We will not be anywhere near that kind of recommended increase, so I don't want anybody to think that we're proposing a large increase similar to that.
Good.
Yeah, it's.
The purpose of this was to keep it cents on the dollar when we do make an increase so that we're not impacting our consumers unexpectedly.
Right.
If we decide to do it.
Yes, if
Correct,
at all.
if at all.
That's correct.
Any other-
Excellent.
Any questions or comments?
Good discussion.
Okay, we'll drop down to item B, staff report, citywide cleanup event.
It was a huge success. Within the first hour, the 3 dumpsters that we had out there were full. And they had to get the crews to come and switch them out. They went through 15 dumpsters that day.
Wow.
So we had a huge turnout. Everything went really well, and we got a lot of good positive feedback from the residents. So I just wanted to let everybody know. We did have several volunteers come up as well, including police officers even that came up, and some of the city staff that came up with some trash bags and just went around the city collecting trash off some of the roadways and common areas. So we did have some volunteers. Yes, ma'am.
The gentlemen that were out there working were very professional and they helped everybody.
Wonderful.
Good.
Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. So we got a lot of good feedback this year from it again. So we'll continue to plan this every year. I think it was better doing it this time in March as opposed to November.
Yeah,
The weather was a little bit more
That's what I was just
cooperative with us.
the weather was.
Uh,
And I like the dumpsters on the street
Perfect,
better.
perfect.
Are there going to be a certain number of citywide cleanups
It's,
So
or?
Waste Connections, as a part of our agreement, has agreed to provide this event one time a year at no cost to the city. The city council, you can choose to do it as often as you'd like. However, there will be a cost associated if we do it more than one time a year, above and beyond what our current waste contract calls for. So we can certainly do more of these if we need to. Just know that there will be a cost associated with that. I think the typical roll-off dumpster rental is somewhere around $300 a day. So I'd imagine for 3 of them, we'd be looking at probably a couple $1,000 to run an event like this. That's a guess on my end. I don't know if they charge for driver time. Typically, we do it on a Saturday, so there may be an overtime for a driver time, so we may be talking 4,000 or 5,000, but there would be an impact there. Just to
So-
keep in mind.
I like the
some-
spring
some-
clean.
Correct.
some
Just
cities
once.
offer spring
Free.
and fall.
Will there be any other advertisement? I noticed that Forest Hill has their signs that they, put out at the street to, advertise that there's a citywide cleanup. Will we possibly do something like that for banners?
We can certainly buy banners. There's just gonna be a cost with that, because it's
Well, I mean,
especially,
we have money for advertisement, correct?
we have money for advertisement that's within the Civic Center budget, right? Yeah, that's for marketing of the Civic Center. We don't have just general advertisement for events. Normally, when we do
Just the
events, we get business
libraries.
partnerships and things that help pay for any advertising costs, signage, all that sort of stuff that we get. We don't have a budget specifically for advertisement of events or anything.
Well, could we possibly next time in advance, put it in a newsletter where, residents will be aware?
I think this was included in the newsletter, was it not?
Yeah, but I didn't get my water bill until like yesterday.
Until yesterday.
So that didn't help anybody. That's what
Yeah.
I needed to ask you. That did not help anybody.
But we try.
Well, then the only other previous newsletter would be, I mean, we would have to change the time, but we could certainly include it on the water bill.
Yeah, either that or like. put it in
I know
the
we
middle
did,
of the month
we did
when you know you
CTY,
get
we
the-
did, the signage here, both digital signage had it, and we did social media postings as well.
Right, but everybody's not is not on Facebook.
Well, no, I'm saying that in addition to CTYs or digital signage.
And everybody doesn't have the call either.
Okay.
I
How
did
much
get
are the
that.
banners anyway?
If you're talking about the vinyl banners, 30,
That-
50
that you-
bucks, something
That we
like that.
could use yearly,
Like a little small roadside
no
one.
dates on it.
Oh, the small ones.
Yeah,
If we did like the Christmas tree lighting one and then
No
left the
dates.
date, leave the date part off.
we can come up with something.
Can we just put something in the budget for next year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We'll write that down.
It's your budget.
Yes. Remind us, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Advertising.
Yeah, there are only two
Right.
departments that have advertisement, budget line items, and that's the library and the civic center.
Any other discussion on that?
No, good job on it, y'all.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Okay, so let's drop down to item C, staff report, legends of Hannah Ranch subdivision update.
So I just wanted to provide you all with a quick update regarding the subdivision. We have made significant progress and they are now pulling permits to build homes.
Oh.
So those plans have been under review with Bureau Veritas, which is our third-party plan review. And everything seems to be going very well. I think we've got a total of 6 house permits that have been pulled and 12 water meter permits that have been pulled. So those are in the review process currently. And you could expect homes to start going up here within the month. So we're excited about that. One of the other things when we met with the developer that was a request from us, from staff. Our sign ordinance is very weak. We do not have a very strong sign ordinance that regulates the signage around the city. We do not also have an ordinance that requires any sort of sight and sound barrier for subdivisions. So when we met with the developer, we kindly asked them, would they be willing to put up any sort of nice looking sight and sound separation along Roy C. Brooks to provide that protection from Advanced Castone and the industrial properties across the street. in our mind, when we asked that, we were thinking that they were just gonna come back with like a privacy fence of some type that stretched the roadway. They came back with a beautiful masonry wall that is going to stretch all along Royce C. Brooks, with a memorial garden out there as well, and a fountain, and
Whoa.
beautiful signage as you enter into the neighborhood that'll say Hannah Ranch on it. All in all, it's actually a very beautiful design. The problem is we don't have an ordinance to regulate this, and our ordinance actually says they can't do this. So with that being said,
We're going to fix that.
next meeting, we will be presenting an ordinance with a recommendation that you approve it, that amends the ordinance allowing memorial signage like this, and giving us permission to move forward with
Okay.
this. I think you'll be very happy with the product. I'll be happy to share the plans with you so you can review them in detail.
Yeah.
I could share it on the screen, but it's so small on your screen, you wouldn't be able to tell anything. It's better for me to get it sent to you so you can look at it and see the detail. But I think you'll be very happy with the design of it, and very pleased. So be prepared. Next week, we will be presenting an ordinance recommending adoption that'll amend our sign ordinance to allow this to be built.
So next week you want us to vote on it.
Yes,
Next
ma'am.
meeting.
Next meeting.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, because they have applied for the permit. And so we're under the gun as far as the time limit to do the permit review and issue that permit.
Yeah.
And we either have to issue it or deny it. So we're trying to get this done as quickly as possible. So we're going to recommend that you approve it at the next meeting so that we can issue the permit and get them going on.
Gotcha.
They're very ambitious in the meeting. They're very ambitious. In a
These
good way.
houses that are built, are they already sold or are they just building?
So they're gonna do a mix. There will be some that are sold and some that are rented. The rented properties are not being sold to investors. Any rentals that occur out of here will occur from Hannah Ranch. So they do this as a part of the marketing campaign with the housing crisis that we're facing right now with offering some rental properties. Hannah Ranch manages it. So it's all managed by the HOA that owns the property. We're not allowing, and they're very clear, and we've made this very clear in the development agreements, that they are not allowed to sell to third-party investors to come in there and turn these into slum rentals. That's not what they're doing.
Thank you.
The HOA will own any rent homes out of here. They will manage the property. They will be responsible for the management and cleanliness of the property and take care of the rental and everything associated with it. So they're going to do about a 50-50 split to start, because the housing market is so bad right now that there's nobody buying homes. And it would be devastating to the city if we got all these homes built, nobody to move into them.
Yeah.
So we agreed for them to do a 50-50 split, as long as they manage it through the HOA. So that's probably what we'll see at the beginning, is a 50-50 split between rentals and owners. And then they take care of financing options. They take care of everything as far as selling it. So they can either go through the Hannah Ranch company, the Legends Hannah Ranch company, to purchase the home, or they can go through a third-party realtor and buy it outright. There's several different financial options there. But yes, some will be sold and some will not. Some will be for rent.
What
So
is
we-
about how much of the house is gonna go for?
The original estimate was about $250,000 a year. That was prior to the housing crisis that we experienced. So we're thinking it's probably going to be somewhere around $300,000 a year now with the current housing market.
The highest valuation for the permits that were applied, the highest valuation I've seen, and there was 4 more today, was 278. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
and that's obviously their
Wow, that's
valuation.
a whole lot of money for a
Yeah.
house.
If someone goes through and buy it, then they can buy it, build it, and then rent it. So
They can't. There's deed restrictions on the property. So the deed restrictions prevent them from being able to do that. That's all part of the development agreement. We made sure to take the steps to where we didn't have slumlords coming in, buying it and renting it back out. That would be a violation of the deed restrictions.
Good. Okay,
Yeah, this will be interesting.
yeah.
Any other discussion? Next item D, 2022 annual report discussion.
I'm hoping to have this to you in April. I know it's a little further behind than expected. Normally we get this to you in March to put out to the public. I've had some delays on getting it built. So I apologize for that, but we are working on building it. If there is anything that any council members would like to make sure is included in the 2022 annual report, please email that to me and let me know, and we'll be happy to include that in there.
what is it? What's all in it?
This is the annual report that we build every year that just highlights every department within the city, what's happened around the city, highlights our different events. We talk a lot about like our crime rate, our fire response, the change in staffing, pretty much just a report for the citizens about what's been going on around Everman. And we post it to our website every year, and include a link on the water bill because it's like 40 pages somewhere in there. So it's too much to send in the water bill, but we include a link for people to go. And then we always provide printed copies here at City Hall and then some at the library as well.
It comes with a plastic comb on it, doesn't it, for the spine?
Yours does.
Okay,
When I
yeah.
present it to you, yes, it
Okay,
does.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
It's got that clear plastic front
We
cover.
don't have to print it.
No, you
Yeah.
don't have to print it.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will drop down to city manager's report.
We have auditors here this week, so staff has been busy. Susan's been busy dealing with the auditors. The audit is getting closer to being wrapped up. So council can expect the auditors to be here probably within the next month,
First meeting of April.
first meeting of April.
Okay.
To be here to present the audit report back to you. Yeah. Also need to let council know that we have had 2 air conditioners go out at the same time here at City Hall. Unfortunately, it's probably going to cost about $20,000 to $25,000 to replace those. That is under the cap that I'm authorized to spend, so I will authorize that, but I wanted council to be aware that that's coming. And that we are doing our due diligence to find the most appropriate cost to replace these and getting bids on replacement. So we're not just going with the first AC company that we find. We are going out to find the lowest bid that we can replace them, but they both require replacement.
Are we doing emergency room maintenance on the other air conditioners? So maybe they won't do the same thing?
No. There's not much to do. I'm trying to spend as little as possible on this building right now.
Yes.
When was the last time the air conditioners were?
2016.
16. So they're not that old.
They're not that old.
No.
All 4 were replaced at the same time in
Yes.
2016.
Wow.
I bet it didn't cost us 25,000 then
No,
for all 4 of them.
yeah.
At least it's better that it happens now than in June when it's super hot and
Oh, yeah.
companies are gonna
Absolutely.
charge extra and whatever, but
You're right.
it is what it is.
Anything else?
No, the only thing is I am back in the office starting yesterday, back full time. I'm coming in about 9:15 because of the baby, but I am here daily back to work. So if you need something, please feel free to reach out.
Well, the only thing I have for mayor's report is the blood study, we've got the final documents from the county, I believe was last week. we got
Last
them.
week, yes.
So, just the agreement and everything, and hopefully we'll see that study. If not already started, it should start this week or next week.
Yes.
So, and should be done by the end of December. So
Good, good, good,
anxious to
good.
get that done so we can start trying to get some
Mhm.
flood mitigation funds.
Yes. Oh,
And start knocking some of these things out, so. But that's all I have, so with that being said, the time is 7:03 and we are adjourned.
All right.
wow. Does anybody know the name of that photography studio that's around this corner?
No idea.
I